single 26-year-old childless man describes why he needs a Section 8 voucher, and he waited 4 years to get it. Now, with all the federal budget cuts, he might lose it. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have quite the interesting article for you today. And once again, it's coming out of the state of California. And in this article, they actually go, they talk to this tenant, right? This tenant is a 26-year-old male, no children, and he waited on the Section 8 waiting list to get a voucher for 4 years. And before that, he was essentially homeless. So, there's a lot of questions I have about his story and a lot of speculation that I'm going to be doing, but that's what I have to do. Okay, I have to speculate because the people who write these articles, they are not being honest with us. They want to garner sympathy for these tenants, right? These people who are on Section 8, but they don't tell us the whole truth. And we can't make a decision on policy throughout the whole country when you're lying to us. We just can't. Okay, so we have a story, and from the looks of it, we have a young, able-bodied male who has a Section 8 voucher. Why? And that's the question. That's the question right there. And that's why I have to do speculation. That's why I have to make assumptions. And that's why I support these time limits on all of these, bills and all of these regulations that they're trying to put out there. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. So why do you think a 26-year-old male with no children would be on a, Section 8? Why would he be living with a voucher? Okay, and why do you think that he is so afraid of becoming homeless again? I remember when I was 26. Okay, I worked my butt off. I mean, I was working all the time. When I first started, I was working at Walmart as a truck unloader, and at the same time I worked part-time at Pizza Hut. So I had 2 jobs at the same time, working 60 plus hours a week. Okay, and then what else was I doing? I've had multiple jobs at the same time. I would jump from job to job trying to find one that paid just a little bit more, but the consistent thing was that I worked my butt off. Finally, I ended up at the state prison, and I worked so much overtime there that it was hard to believe. But then you tell me, I'm struggling, I'm paying my bills, I'm not living anywhere nice, I'm living in the hood. Okay, I'm living in a terrible location, and I still was able to afford to live and not be homeless and on the streets. And I was the same age as this guy, 26. Yet, this guy, what's he doing? Okay, that's the question. So put a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know why you believe that this guy is homeless. Anyway, let's get into the article and see what it says. This article is coming from FresnoLand.org, and it says, Fresno residents relying on Section 8 fear return to homelessness. Fresno's housing voucher recipients find themselves at a crossroads as Congress debates whether to extend funding for the country's largest rental assistance program. Dennis Jepson did everything you're supposed to do to escape homelessness. He applied for rental assistance through the federal housing voucher program known as Section 8. Though it took 4 years to hear back, he got the help he needed to afford a home in Fresno. Now, following potential federal budget cuts to many services, including the housing voucher program, Jepson is staring down the barrel of homelessness once again. It only scares the S out of me, Jepson said. Now, what would the average person do to escape homelessness? Okay? They would go and they would work 2-3 jobs. They would, try to rent a room. They might have a shared bathroom between 4 rooms, but they would do anything rather than live on the street or live under a bridge. That's why it tells me that, hey, there's some reason, be it, he has mental health issues or substance abuse issues, which is my guess, right? Which is leading him down the path of homelessness. And, normally when you're talking about somebody who appears to be able-bodied like this guy, well, they wouldn't even be eligible for these sort of programs. So he might have some sort of disability as well. I don't know. I, obviously can't tell. But the point is that this guy, he doesn't reflect a good story, in my opinion, to be pushing towards, hey, we need to extend these benefits. We need to extend these benefits so this 26-year-old guy for the next 40, 50 years of his life has the government paying for his housing. Jeez, you know? Like, he should be out there working if he's able. Now, let's say he is under the drug addiction problem, right? Well, the first thing we need to do is, he needs to get off of drugs, but he should still be limited. He should still be limited in how long he should be able to be on this program. And if he's not, then we are just paying basically to support his addiction going on into the future forever. And that's a problem with a lot of these programs. So I don't agree with them just letting this guy have a voucher if he's facing a substance abuse issue. So, I don't know. We'll have to just wonder for forever. Unless somebody personally knows this guy, I can't really say what's going on with his story. The future of the federal housing voucher program is uncertain. The president last month signed a budget proposal that could gut funding for vouchers. However, Congress routinely engages in reconciliation process ahead of the next fiscal year. The process allows senators and representatives to submit last-minute adjustments following scrutiny and feedback from constituents. Congress's appropriations process has no formal deadline, but the next fiscal year starts on October 1st, and legislation can be passed to extend negotiations if needed. Yeah, and the cuts are needed, okay? We are talking about just a generation of people who are relying upon the government. I don't agree with it, okay? I believe that people should be working. That is my personal belief. I believe a guy like this should be working. Let's say that he is an able-bodied young man, 26 years old, no children. He should be working, period. And any program that does not motivate him to get out there and take care of himself is garbage. Okay, 2 years max. He fell on hard times, and we're going to help him get back on his feet. But we're not going to pay for him to abuse drugs or him to be lazy for the rest of his life. That's my personal opinion. But what do you think? Go ahead and put a comment in the comment section down below.